Hey, and welcome to this bonus episode of the In a Weekend podcast. This is episode number 217, and I'm your host, Yong Pratt. And on this podcast, we help you to simplify, to automate, and to leverage the often hidden assets inside your life and business quickly. Today's bonus episode is a story for you. Before I dive into the story, though, I want to make sure that you can get access to our workshop that we did last week, all about the top 3 podcasting myths. And you better believe we busted those bad boys, because more than anything, the top 3 reasons I share in the workshop stop more would-be podcasters in their tracks than any others that I have heard. You can get instant access to the encore presentation just by heading over to yongpratt.com/myths. All you have to do is enter your name and email address, and you can watch the replay when it's convenient for you. And trust me, this is by far the most popular workshop we have done to date, and I have been getting a ton of comments and questions all about these myths because people were definitely buying into these, and it's stopped them from podcasting, which is such a shame, because you and I both know that you, my friend, have a message to share. You've gone through experiences, hardships, challenges, you've overcome them, and now you help people on their journeys into whatever that thing is. Literally, I'm here to tell you that there is a podcast about every topic under the sun, and yours is no exception. It is absolutely time for you to get your podcast out into the world, and I want you to start by going to watch the instant replay of the encore at yongpratt.com/myths. That's MYTHS. And you can just leave your name and email and get instant access to that workshop. Okay, so let's dive into this story. Now, this is a little bit of a spoiler alert, but one of the myths that stops more people from podcasting than any other that I hear again and again and again and again, well, you get it, is time. So many people tell me they don't have time to podcast. They don't have enough hours in the day as it is. So adding one more thing to their growing to-do list seems like the impossible dream. Then if they can get past that thought, their next thought goes right to, oh my gosh, how much more time is this going to take me? And how much more do I have to sacrifice time with my kids and my family and my friends in order to make this thing happen? Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you that podcasting doesn't have to be as time-consuming as you may think. And today's success story comes from Nicole Thompson. Now, Nicole is host of the Build Your Wealth podcast, and she was in my very first season of Podcast in a Weekend. If you don't know about Podcasts in a Weekend, it's literally a class where we walk you step by step to setting up and launching your podcast in as little as a weekend. Now, when you watch the replay of the workshop, you'll hear more about it and what is included, because I wish someone had created this class for me way back when I started podcasting, because it took me forever. And yes, I did find an expert in the area and go through a class, but it still took a very long time to launch. And that's one of my biggest frustrations as a business owner and as a busy mom. Time definitely wasn't a factor for me until I figured out some of the cool ninja tools and hacks that I teach my students inside of Podcast in a Weekend to make it super simple, to make it super fast, and to make it super easy to launch your podcast. Now, this is totally going to blow you away, but Nicole actually reached out to me 4 hours. That's right, 4 hours into this weekend class, she reached out and said, I'm finished. I just submitted my podcast to all the major platforms and I'm done. Now I get to go record more episodes. Well, you can just imagine my shock because I was thinking this was going to take them the entire weekend long, and I had a ton of students complete it in that time. She was the first one, though, to reach out and said, 4 hours. In less than half a day, I launched my podcast. Now, I'm not going to make you wait any longer. Here is Nicole's story.
My name's Nicole Thompson. I'm the host of the Build Your Wealth podcast. Having my own podcast has been something that I've envisioned doing for several years now, but every time I try to research it, it seemed very overwhelming and confusing. Podcasts in a Weekend has by far been the absolute best online class that I have ever taken. Yong's teaching method is clear and precise. Each video tutorial is super short, but packs a huge punch with easy to follow step-by-step instructions that produce a win with every single one. The course is called Podcast in a Weekend, but I was able to take it from start to finish in less than 1 day. And by the end of that day, I had a live podcast. Podcast in a Weekend took a rather intimidating topic and made it so super simple that a grade schooler could follow the steps to creating their own podcast. If you've ever considered having your own podcast, but you get lost in the tech of it, you need to take Podcasts in a Weekend. You'll be a podcaster in the blink of an eye.
Oh my goodness, what do you think about that? Being able to get in, take some massive action, and get your podcast done in less than a day. That is absolutely what is possible for you inside of Podcasts in a Weekend. And if you want more details about that, go watch the replay over at yongpratt.com/myths and then reach out to me for any more questions. I hope you are as inspired as I am that you can create a podcast in as little as a weekend. I'll catch you on the next episode. Cheers.